Hello all and welcome to a new YouTube video on our YouTube channel The Third Man Musings. Today we'll be previewing the iconic Border Gavaskar trophy, and this series has a lot of significance, especially with regards to the upcoming ICC WTC final, where India need to win either 2-0 or 3-1 to make it to the final of the ICC WTC final, and that will become a huge achievement for us to make it to the finals for a second consecutive time. But before we preview the squads, our possible playing 11, we would like to discuss a few iconic moments of this trophy, right? It started way back in 1997-98, close to 25 years now since the trophy was instituted. Many memorable magic moments which went into the stuff of legends, right? So, Sumit, if I were to ask you one iconic moment that stands the test of time in BGT for you, what would that be?
So, Sujay, for me, that would be the 2001 series. And I remember I was in seventh standard, and my final exams had just got over. And the last exam was over, and we were playing the Kolkata test that time. It was the fourth day. And I just assumed after the exam, I opened the TV, the match would be over, and we'll just see the ceremony or something, or the highlights for the day, like they used to come in that time, right? And I was seeing Dravid and Lakshan batting through the day, and I saw the entire last session, and it was amazing to see because India at that time were proper underdogs, right? And like most of the matches against Australia. So, and
Yeah.
then next day we had an off because the exams got over. So I just sat whole day and watched the match, and it was one of the best test matches ever. That's why I still remember it from 2001 till 2023. So we won the test match, and that turned the whole momentum, and we won the series miraculously after that. So one of the best memories ever, best test matches ever for all the reasons. Harbhajan Singh, Sachin doing his leg spin instead of the runs, and Australia just mentally disintegrating, unlike us. Like we would disintegrate normally, but it happened with Australia. So my favorite memory was that in terms of the Border Gavaskar Trophy. How about you? Was it the Ultimate Test series or something else?
Yeah, I think for me it has to be the recent Border Gavaskar Trophy, right? Which they call the Ultimate Test Series. And what a series it was. First test, we got shot out for 36 in the second innings in Adelaide. Most sides would have capitulated and surrendered 4-0 to Australia after that, right? I mean, who makes a comeback after 36 all out? And that too when your team's premier batsman has returned back home after the first test, which was Virat Kohli in that case. But the way Ajinkya Rahane and his boys stepped up, right? Rahane leading by example, scoring 100 at Melbourne, and then the Indian bowling doing superbly to dismiss Australia both times, squaring the series at 1-1. Sydney also we would have nearly won had Pant stayed maybe for an hour
One
or
message.
so more.
Hmm.
We got very close to the target, but once he got out and once Pujara got out, I think Vihari and Ashwin saved that match brilliantly, right? Both overcoming their physical injuries in that match. That was great, and then I think that propelled the momentum for us to win the final test, right? Rishabh Pant again, he was batting like a man possessed. um, took India to victory. I remember we were, I think, 4 for no loss at the start of the last day, needing
Hmm.
328. So 320 runs in Aussie conditions, which was a fortress, right? The Gaba, known for its pace and bounce. And the way Gill, Pujara, Pant, everyone batted, I mean, it was like a once in a lifetime series. I hope we see more series like that, but this is one story which we can treasure and tell our grandchildren, right? And don't forget the bowling lineup for that test match. It was, if you remember, Sundar, it was Natarajan, it was Siraj, and it
Thakur,
was Shardul.
Lord,
And in
yeah,
between, I think they had 10 test wickets or 15 test wickets between them, right? Compared to
yes,
the mighty Aussies. So that series will always stand the test of time for me.
definitely. It was like a real life Lagan story, a bunch of unknown people is coming together, just creating an 11 because everybody was injured or not like really suffering with bad form. We just had to assemble 11 players, create an 11, and then take the field. And that spirit really carried them through. So, definitely, yeah. But India, that time at least, are considered the strong team by like last year. Like last 3 4 years, we have been the big team, right? Except the ICC tournaments, obviously. But we
That's
are like.
a, yeah, that's a
But I
fair
remember
point for us.
2001 used to be like very like sad times, because 99 series we lost 3-0 and Lakshman hit that 200, but nobody cared because we just lost every match. So
Right.
a lot of memories, and yeah, we can just hope that this new series will. I don't think we can have another ultimate series like that. If we do, we'll be very lucky to have seen two in a row. But even if it stands 70% of that series, we'll be lucky to witness this one.
Right. And a quick point on the Australian preparation for this series. I know we'll go into the squad and the playing 11 now, but I think after a lot of years, the Aussie squad has come in with some sort of genuine belief that they can upstage India. Right? Previous series, the last time they won in India was 2004 2005, which was after a gap of 35 years. But after that, they've come here, they got routinely, bulldozed either for 4-0 or 3-1. But this time they've come with a genuine sense of preparation. They feel they have the batting and the bowling to upstage India, and their preparation also, right? They are playing against a guy who has a Ashwin
Both
type
like
action,
Ashwin.
right?
Yeah.
So they're doing their best to prepare for the Indian wickets as well. And this time they're not playing any tour games because they feel it's a waste of time. They get docile wickets, they get
The
very
quality
rookie
is not there.
medium paces. So
Mm.
not an ideal preparation, but this time they're trying something new. Your thoughts on that before we preview the squad and the playing 11?
So it really depends on the result. If they get bamboozled and it's a 4-0 loss, people will say they were overconfident. If they manage to draw or miraculously win this series, that'll be called a master stroke. It's one of those things basically. But I think it was ideal considering how packed the schedule is. We can see Warner is crying for, the lack of preparation, time he has. He wants more time with his family. The mental strain is coming because he's played in the BBL also, I think, recently after a lot of time.
Yeah, he did. He
So,
did. Yeah.
so cricketers are tired, generally tired because of the packed schedule. So they just went this route that okay, we'll keep our players fresh and hope the quality comes through on these pitches. So let's see. It's a risky move, but when we go over the Australian squad, we'll see how the squad is a bit different. I mean, they've really stacked a lot of options in their bowling, and they will try different combinations based on the pitch because even they know that they will be expecting dust balls, and in case the dust balls are not there, then they have the pace battery to handle. So from there, let's go to the Indian squad. So all no names, no real surprises. One missing element is obviously Rishabh Pant from last series, which is unfortunate. So India has tried to have a like replacement with Ishan Kishan, the lefty who's going to do the counter attacking in the middle order. Suryakumar Yadav will be hopefully making his debut. That we'll discuss further when we analyze the playing 11. Shreyas Iyer is out with the back injury, so he's not there for the first test. The all-rounders are our strength, I really believe, with the finger spinners and the batting prowess. So our 7, 8, 9 can really be very strong and give us a very lengthy batting order. The seamers honestly don't really matter in Indian conditions. They just are there and they pick up the paychecks. And if the reverse swing is there, then good, they work out. But normally we are not going to see a lot of them. So paces maximum we'll see out of these four. And Kuldeep Yadav will be the interesting selection whether he gets a game because whenever he performs, he gets dropped. And if he, let's hope he gets a start at least. That's my hope. So we can jump to the possible 11 for the first test match. What we think should be the ideal combination.
Right. So, Sumit and I took some time out and tried to jot down what would our playing 11 be from this squad, right? So, Rohit Sharma, obviously captain, and has been a settled test opener for us in the last 1 or 2 years. So, we expect him to lead the charge in terms of making quick runs ahead with the new ball, right? Especially that will be the time when the scoring will be easier because before the ball, becomes dry and starts to grip on the pitch, right? So Rohit Sharma is expected to make big runs. Now it will be interesting to see who partners with him, right? Because if you saw the England series where we went there, KL Rahul did really well in that particular test series with Rohit. He scored 1 or 2 centuries also, so
Mm-hmm.
he did really well there. But don't discount Shubman Gill, right? Fantastic vein of form in the recent ODI
Mid
series,
ball,
and
yeah.
we are hoping that will get translated into Test cricket as well. And don't forget he did well in the last Border Gavaskar Trophy. He scored a 90 on the last day in
Last year.
Brisbane. So we'll have to see who partners because basis that if Rahul partners, then you never know. Maybe Shubman Gill might play in the middle order or vice versa. Maybe if Shubman Gill opens, Rahul might play in the middle order again, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
K. Rahul has had his recent success in ODIs in the middle order. So you never know, he might be in that frame of mind where he can play in the middle order. So that will be interesting to see. Pujara and Kohli will be the engine room here again. And their battle against Lion will be fascinating, right? Pujara versus Lion and Kohli versus Lion, because Lion will
Mm-hmm.
again toss the ball up, get the ball to spin outside the rough, right? From outside off, he tried to get them caught at silly point of forward short leg. So that will be a fascinating battle. Kohli has always been the prized wicket for the Aussies, always brings his A game against them. And Pujara has, on Indian pitches, he comes down
Really.
the track and he takes the ball on the full and tries to score runs, right? So that will be a big, big matchup. And then, Sumit, what are your thoughts on Surya Kumar Yadav and Ishan Kishan, X Factor players at 5 and 6? That is interesting.
So interesting and scary at the same time, because we know how Surya is against spin, and imagine when he has five fielders outside the circle, what he does. Now there will be like one or two, so he's going to sweep them out of the match. If he stays there for even one session, I think we'll be through. We'll get like 150 runs with this guy in. But again, we have seen issues with him when the longer format. So he got the chance in the ODIs, he didn't do as expected. Like T20 is his comfort zone. So this will be an interesting call. From whatever I've read, they are planning to give him a debut so that he can make use of the spin and do the counter attacking for us. So, but he has a very good domestic record. He has, the numbers, and that's how he got into the Indian team to start with, right? So, um, 50-50 on that. I hope it comes off. I'm more scared about Ishan Kishan than Surya Kumar, because since his double hundred, things haven't worked out for him, and
Like, been very inconsistent, right?
very inconsistent. And now it's a different format altogether. Now it's something he hasn't played for India. It's a bit hard on Bharat, but again, I understand with the composition, you have five right-handers. You would want a left-hander at six. So the left-handers actually start when the bowlers start coming, right? So we need to get a left-handed top order batter also. Probably Kishan go at five, Surya at six. Maybe they do some alternate positioning. So bit skeptical about
Let's
Ishan
see.
Kishan
Yeah,
more than Surya. But
yeah,
one thing I wanted to mention of Pujara is, like, I remember at one
right.
point of time Pujara and Rahane both were struggling really badly, and there was talk about getting new people in the middle order. So Pujara rejuvenated his career. He played a lot of county in England, and the results are there to see. He's got a second wind, and now he'll complete his 100 Test matches, which he totally deserves. I think he's on 96 or 97. So over this series, he's going to complete 100 Test matches, which unfortunately Rahane
Huge
won't be able to do.
milestone, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so quality player, and no matter how much he bores us, and we kind of get like, why is he batting like this? I think he's one player you need in test matches so that your games don't get over in 2 days. He'll extend it till 3 days at least. So very important player for me. And Kohli with
Right.
his off spin struggles recently, that's a concern. But
Mehdi Hassan
again,
especially sorted him
yeah,
out in Bangladesh, right? I mean,
that's scary, right? Mehndi hasn't sorted him, so Lion is like 10 times better. So, and the pitches will be supported for spin for sure. So uh, but it's Australia, so that really, I think, gears him up like it used to do for Sachin also in his peak. So Australia used to get the juices flowing. So hoping Kohli comes back in tests also, like he has done in ODIs and T20s. Coming to the all
right.
rounders, so one interesting question: Akshar or Kuldeep? What are your thoughts on that?
I think before I answer that one, I think Jadeja and Ashwin, Jadeja will be coming back after a long
After injury.
layoff, right? But given that they've been legends in Indian conditions, right? Last decade, right from the 2011-12 series, right? They have been legends. They have spun India to various victories in the subcontinent. India have been invincible since the last test they lost against England in
Hmm.
2012. So last 10 years, these two guys have been instrumental in keeping us invincible at home. So because of that, I'm sure they'll get the backing. The third spinner, as you said, might again depend on the pitch, right? If the first test now is in Nagpur, now
Hmm.
there are four venues. First test is in Nagpur, second is in Dharamshala, third is in Delhi, and fourth is in
Second.
Ahmedabad. Right now, Delhi and Ahmedabad have a
Hmm.
reputation of spinning from day one, right, and spinning big. Nagpur and Dharamshala tend to spin a bit later in the test match. So if it is a pitch where the ball will turn from day one, probably Akshar might come into the mix because
Hmm.
Akshar has the ball which turns away from the right hander very briskly, and he also is a good straighter one. So if the batsman plays for a ball which is turning outside, good chances he may get out LBW or bold. Whereas Kuldeep, if the pitch is good, then
For
obviously he
batting.
gets prodigious turn which can entice mistakes from the batsman. So it's very pitch dependent. Your
Hmm.
thoughts on the Akshar Kuldeep conundrum?
Same, Sujay. It will depend on the pitch, but knowing how management functions, I see a clear preference for Akshar. Although playing Akshar and Ravindra at the same time doesn't make much sense for me, at least. and you don't
Right.
need the batting at
Similar
nine. So
bowlers, right?
yeah, and just playing him because he's a better batter doesn't make sense, because you are batting till 8, and 7, 8 are very good batsmen in Test match terms. They're not like, even all rounders. Ashwin is a
Right.
very good hand batsman in Indian conditions, especially with his 100. So let's see how it goes. But definitely, if the wickets are not taken in the first Test match by Akshar, Kuldeep should come into contention, because he's been in red hot form with his new bowling action, and the higher speed, higher revs. So he should get a chance at his peak to
Right.
showcase his talent.
Right.
And
Man of the
lastly,
match in Bangladesh as well, right? The first is. Yeah.
and then got dropped. So that's the
Yeah. I hope,
problem. Whenever he
yeah, that
performs, they
mistake
drop
is,
him.
yeah,
So
not
let's hope
repeated.
they give him the
Yeah.
chance. Two paces,
Yeah.
I think, pick for themselves, like Siraj for sure, the way he's been performing and breathing fire into those dead wickets. So Siraj will definitely play for me. The 10th one is a toss up. I honestly would rather keep Shami fresh, because I know Umesh is not going to bowl in white ball for me. I know Shami will in the World Cup, so I would rather preserve Shami and let Umesh Yadav handle the Indian wickets, because he bowls better on those, surprisingly, than the Sena
And the
countries.
overseas wickets, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, he's a strange kind of pacer like that. So let him play and
Yeah.
preserve Shami. And there's talk of getting Bumrah in the test matches, which I'm strongly against. I mean, we do not need to play that guy in test matches. I know this is a very important series, and I know he's going to play in the IPL. So you need to preserve him for the World Cup. And after the World Cup, fine, you want to get him back into test matches, get him back. But yeah, this is a squad for two test matches, I believe. So
Yeah.
Bumrah is expected to join the third test squad. So let's hope common sense prevails. We do not bring our premium pacer back. And
And that will
in next
probably depend
series
on the
also.
score line also, right? If we are two
Oh
zero
yeah,
ahead, then I think
then we
Bumrah
won't. Yeah,
might
yeah.
be rested. But let's say if it's 1-1, then you never know. And yeah, let's hope the reverse swing factor comes into play, because
Hmm.
before the new ball is taken around the 90 over mark, if at around 80 overs Siraj or Shami and Yadav get the ball reverse swinging, then that brings a whole new dimension, right? So interesting times ahead. And this is our, discussion for the India squad. Now let's move on to the Aussie squad. Okay, and now the Aussie squad. For the first time, their batting and bowling for subcontinent conditions looks really sorted, right? Don't be amazed if this Australian team puts up a really good performance and give India a run for their money. India favorites, of course, expected to win this series handsomely, but Australia will put up a fight. Kavaja has been in the form of his life, been scoring hundreds for fun now, even in the Aussie state cricket, as well as in international cricket. David Warner is surprisingly coming in a lean patch of form. It's not
Hmm.
been that consistent, so this time he might not be the most prized wicket. Labuschagne and Smith, obviously. Batsmen of their own great caliber, right? And we'll be talking about how they are preparing for Ashwin, specifically the mind games and all that sort of things. Travis Head, again, a middle order enforcer, and they have good backup, with Renshaw and Hanscombe also, decent batsmen who can be called upon if the top order is struggling. And Carey comes in as the specialist keeper and a decent bat. All rounders is a bit interesting. Cameron Green, from what we hear, has a niggle still, might not be bowling for the first couple of tests. Not sure about that. So Australia will be pretty hamstrung by that. Eastern Agar, a good left arm spinner plus a handy bat. So he'll be looking to replicate what Steve O'Keefe did in the 2017 series, right? With that
Hmm.
12 for 70 that he took in the first year. The seamers speak for themselves. Kamil Stark, Hazelwood have been Aussie legends for the last 10 years. Have kept the pace up, take the wickets. Scott Boland and Lance Morris are expected to, also deliver that punch, especially with both Stark and Hazelwood expected to not play the first test. So Boland or Morris could come into the picture. And I think, Sumit, I would like to hear from you about Lance Morris, who's supposed to be the 150-kilometer plus sensation, right? Who might blow away the Indian batsman, is what we are
Yeah.
hearing. So would love to hear about him from you. And the spinners, Nathan Lyon, obviously a legend in his own right, 400 plus test wickets. Um, has had an impact in Sri Lanka and Pakistan, will look to replicate the success in India as well. And two interesting backup spinners in Swepson and Murphy.
Todd
So we
Murphy.
can bring up this 11, and Sumit, I think you can take it away for your thoughts on the playing 11.
So the playing 11, like the squad, says, the batting is very like well rounded. You have the enforcer in David Warner up top. Khwaja has rediscovered himself. So you have the two southpaws opening, and you're like India has Pujara Kohli. Their engine room is Marnus and Steve Smith. Steve Smith has changed his technique. This is Steve Smith 2.0, and the record speaks for itself. He's been scoring runs again like he used to, in like buckets. So that is one scary thing for me because he normally performs very well against India. A very good player of
Right.
spin. And Travis Head has been one of those new players who have like blossomed after, like, he's not that young. I think he's still he's like in his late 20s or early 30s,
The early
right?
30s, I think. Yeah.
Early
Yeah.
30s, and he's just come to the fore now, and he's a very handy off spinner. So he will come into the picture if the pitch is spinning. He can do your Michael Clark job, right? That 6 for 9, I still remember. So this guy can be that dangerous like spinner nobody talked about or prepared for. Green most likely is not going to bowl in the first test at least, and he's going to play as a pure batsman. Cara has been performing very well since getting a test debut, and he normally bats at six also at times ahead of Green because of his good technique. So the batting is pretty good, and as you can see, the squad, they haven't kept a lot of backup batsmen because these are the best that are available in Australia. So they're going to stick with them for test matches, unless there's like a very major injury. Then you get in Renshaw or Hanscom. The bowling is where it's interesting, where they have got themselves a lot of options. We see the squad and you have like 5 plus 8 options, so three spinners, five pacers. So Cummins obviously is going to play every test match, so that's one slot gone. And Lyon will play every test match, that's another slot gone. So for these two slots that they have, that's where I think they'll be rotating around. And Scott bowling, Lance Morris. So obviously Stark would have been the preferred one, but he's injured, and we are not going to get Hazelwood for the first test match and maybe even two test matches. So it's going to be between Scott Boland, who hasn't played any test match outside Australia. He averages 12, which I read, and I was pretty surprised. Like, he's very, very successful in all these test matches he plays in Australia. So an average of 12 is immense. And Lance Morris is the X factor they've brought, which makes sense actually because he's an unknown, right? And unknown bowler 150 plus, he just needs to bowl the short bursts. And you never know, we can go back to the old school short ball tactic, right? Around the wicket, short ball, keep players ready for the hook and pull. Take your wickets like that. So he might be used like that in case Scott Boland doesn't perform as per expectation, and we still don't have Stark and Hazelwood there. What are your thoughts on the spinners, Sujay? So
Um,
the three spinners, Ashton
mhm.
Agar, Todd Murphy, and Swepson for me. So even I'm confused.
uh,
Where do they go? Right? That's like two
yeah,
finger
it's
spinners and one leg spinner.
maybe for the first test, probably Aston Agar and Nathan Lyon, right? Nathan Lyon for
Mm.
sure. Aston
Yeah.
Agar, because of the left arm angle, he might take the ball away from. And most of the Indian batsmen are right-handers except maybe Kishan, right? So,
Yeah.
for the sake of variety, to take the ball away, maybe Agar and Lyon. But let's see how
That's
that
good
goes.
batting.
And for me,
Mm.
three key batsmen. If India need to win this series handsomely,
Mm.
three key batsmen whom we need to get out early. One is Khawaja because I think he'll play a Matthew Hayden type role. Up front, he try
Mm-hmm.
to get those big hundreds and be the backbone for the batting lineup, right from the start. And
Mm-hmm.
Labushin and Smith, right? Because fantastic players of spin, they can use their feet well, can come down the track and loft the ball for boundaries, and they also have a good back foot game, right? And
Mm-hmm.
the mind battles with Ashwin, we saw in the last test series, Ashwin really sorted them out with that middle and leg stump line, right? Where he
Right.
had them,
Mm.
catching to short mid wicket. He had them getting out to leg slip. So they've
Mm-hmm.
clearly called the gauntlet this time that, we are going to do our best to upset Ashwin this time. So they're up for the challenge. Fascinating series, and they might be hamstrung by Green not bowling, right? Because then it's
Mm-hmm.
four proper bowlers and then a
Bowlers.
bit of part time with Smith or
Head.
Labuschagne or Head.
They
Yeah,
have actually three part timers now. Think about it. There's Marnus, there's Smith, there's
yeah,
Head. They have
yeah,
people to bowl like India. So their batters bowl, our batters still don't bowl. So
you're right.
they they can, I think, for one test match it's fine. But yeah, if they
Mhm.
want to play a 2 plus 2 combination, two pacers, two spinners, then Green becomes the third pacer. I doubt they're playing three pacers with Lion in this series unless India gives a green top, which I don't think is happening.
Which is highly unlikely, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's like really taking a big risk. Unless you're 3-0 up, then maybe they might try to do all that. But a lot is at stake. One more point here, because yeah, we discussed the WTC. India has a chance to become number one in test matches as well. So we are already number one in T20s and ODIs. So this is a golden chance if we win the series. Like
Mhm.
Sujay discussed, we're going to be number one in test matches also. So that's going to be like a huge achievement to be number one across all formats. Uh, so India has a lot to go for in this series. It's Australia, it's in India, and Australia also has a lot to fight for. They are assured of a World T20 final, I believe, but it's just
Yeah.
that we've come to their home and beat them, so obviously they'll want to take revenge. So they will also be fired up. So I am all for the series. I mean, this next to the Ashes, this is the biggest Test series, right? And even India, England, these big three when they play together, it always has these magical elements to it. So looking forward to this.
Right. And maybe one last point before we wrap up this video. I think Ahmedabad, if we discuss the four venues, right? I think
Mhm.
Ahmedabad and Delhi is where India's chances of victory are really bright. Nagpur, I'm just a bit skeptical about that venue because that was the last venue where Australia won in the 2004
Mhm.
5 series, which propelled that series victory, right? So I hope there also the ball does turn. If it's a very sporting wicket in the first test and then we lose, then again it
We'll
might
go
be
back
three
to
dust balls coming loading,
Indian
right,
strategy.
as they
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
So interesting to see how that goes, especially the Nagpur and the Dharmshala wicket, if it will take as much turn as the Delhi and Ahmedabad wickets. Your last thoughts on that before we wrap up the video?
So yeah, the pitches again will be treated by the scoreline. If we are winning comfortably with the sporting wickets, we'll play sporting wickets. But I remember what happened against England. Remember, so we lost the first match, and after that they said, "Okay, enough is enough. We will also play the way England used to do with us
Yeah,
when we used to go there."
yeah,
So I then get you. Then you get 2 3 day test
yeah,
matches,
yeah.
and
Ahmedabad was a
they,
2-day test match, right, in that
yeah.
series. Yeah.
Any ping ball test match? I don't. I'm not aware. Unfortunately, that would be fun to have a ping ball test match with Australia. I am not aware if they're having it
No,
in
this
this season.
time round, no, there's no
No.
pink ball test match. All four are red
Okay.
ball tests. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Looking
Okay,
forward
so
to it.
that was a wrap from our end. Hope you enjoyed this discussion. We enjoyed it tremendously, and let's see how the first test pans out. It's starting on 9th February, so a lot of exciting things to look forward to. And let's see how that first test pans out. Our next video will be post the first test match, so hopefully we'll be speaking to you on that after a Indian victory. Fingers
Great.
crossed on that one. So let's meet then after the culmination of the first test match. Till then, take care, stay safe, and please do let us know your thoughts on the discussion we had. Would love to hear those thoughts and incorporate them accordingly in our next video. So till then, from Sumit and I, wrapping off, and see you. Ciao for the next video.
Bye bye.